Comedy Film Nerds Podcast.
But let's go into Lady Bird. We all three saw it because Greta Gerwig was somebody that was completely shunned.
Now, I want to say before we start talking about this movie, the first thing that surprised me about this movie was that it was not as advertised on the trailer. The trailer showed this quirky comedy, and it was not. It was a drama with some light comedic moments on it. So I really feel like, you know, this happens all the time. It's like, why you keep doing a disservice to these movies? Show what the actual movie is. And because I know there's going to be people that are going to be pissed off and saying, oh, this wasn't that funny. You know, because your trailer is showing this quirky, fun comedy, and your movie is actually a drama with some, you know, funny moments in it. But now, that being said, I really liked the movie. I just thought it was advertised incorrectly.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. You know, what's Saoirse Ronan? No one ever pronounces her name correctly unless you live in Ireland.
Ronan?
2 weeks ago, I was going Sayre Reese.
Yeah.
I was trying to go to Cherise, but now I've landed on Saoirse, so I think it'll stick this time.
You know,
I went online and actually Googled it. Pronounce.
Good for you.
Yes.
Good for you. So, like, she does a really good job, and oh man, Laurie Metcalf as the domineering, highly judgmental mom.
She was great.
She was great because it was like, that's how those types of I've met those moms. I know people that grew up with those types of moms. And they're usually hardest on the daughter. Those type of moms that are just like, "Man, why would you wear that? And, you know, your hair's weird." You know, like, just, "Mom, I'm not being judgmental. I just think you should have different hair." You know, just like they can't get out of their own way in terms of being like, they love their kids.
Yeah, I don't mean anything by it. I'm just saying you're ruining your life.
Yeah, I know.
It's a weird phylum gene splice of stage mom that gets into infiltrating their entire lives. It's not as, like, straight villainous as, you know, a Carrie or a Mommy Dearest or a Black Swan, but you see elements of it there. But I think the issue I have with the mom is that I ended up liking that character a lot simply because I have loved Laurie Metcalf since I was a kid watching her on Roseanne. She was so good as Jackie on Roseanne.
Right.
She's so good. I mean, she was great in Uncle Buck. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's Laurie Metcalf, and you just see it was so believable. I mean, the opening scene.
Yeah, I believe that character. Like there was you always run the risk when you have a character like that of like you go one way too much or the other. Like, oh, well, now she's too mean. She's the mean mom.
Right.
And now, well, she has heart and, you know, she's supportive. And like, oh, well, now that doesn't make sense because now you have both these things and they don't match. It's a balancing act. And I think Greta Gerwig pulled it off.
Yeah, I think she did a really good job. I mean, Saoirse Ronan, she's a really gifted young actress.
She is.
I mean, I talked about this when it came out. I wasn't a huge fan of Brooklyn, but like the movie she opened with, I forget that, where she was the young raised by an assassin.
Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah.
Yeah.
Oh man, she was great in that.
Yeah, I bought her. That made me want to have a daughter just to train her as an assassin.
Yes.
See how I do, throw my hat in this weird Hunger Games ring that we're in. But Brooklyn did the same thing that this movie did, which I appreciated, is that her performance gave me an insight into feeling, having empathy for this character, because I've been in those situations before. Now, I've never been a young Irish lady, but the homesickness that she portrayed someday.
Yeah.
So when I do episode 500,
yes,
it's going to be a different Mark Ellis. But she leaves Ireland and she goes to Brooklyn and she's experiencing this new life, but has these tinges of homesickness, which I think a lot of us can relate to. And I just felt that come off the screen with her. And here, the way that she goes from friends to friends and is trying to find where her pocket is, what her real clique is in school, I think a lot of people can identify with that. And that was one of the elements of the movie that I found really coming of age. And I think every so often we get a great coming of age story. Like, it reminded me of Perks of Being a Wallflower. This was funnier than Perks of Being a Wallflower was, but it had a lot of those same dramatic coming of age elements.
The thing that resonated with me with this film is, I mean, yeah, she's obviously, and some of this stuff we've seen before, but it also, it keeps happening. She bails on the nerdy friend to go with the cool girls. I mean, that's still
the cool rich girl.
The cool rich girls. Well, the thing I identified with is, I remember when when we moved from Madison, Wisconsin to Evanston, Illinois, and Evanston is on the North Shore of Chicago, and it's a pretty diverse suburb, but it has crazy rich people, like people in $1 million homes on Lake Michigan. And we lived in an apartment, and I remember, like, there's a scene, she lies where she lives and doesn't want her dad to drop her off in front of because they got her a scholarship to go to a fancy Catholic school where all the rich kids go. And Laurie Metcalf holds that over her head. You know how much money we're spending on you? It's such a great scene. I remember those arguments with my parents when they were like,
Did you ever say, give me a number?
That was that scene was so great. I remember not that exact word, but I remember some fights like that where they were just like, well, the money, and I was just like, well, fine, man. Like, here, I'll pay it all back then. Like, I remember saying, I'll pay you every penny back so I don't have to fucking listen to you anymore. And I remember
that was a great scene when she said that. Give me a number and I'll pay you back.
She's right, and then the mom goes, "What, honey?" And then she just throws the notepad down, and the dad's just like, "Oh, don't make your mom mad."
Oh, the poor dad.
Oh.
The poor dad when he's with the job interview scene. When Jesus, we're all gonna feel that way at some point in our lives when we're looking at the ghost of Christmas past supersede us in life. And it hasn't happened to me yet. Maybe when I turn into an Irish girl it will, but it's like I could feel the future of Mark Ellis like in that tinge, and it's just oh god, it's just it felt authentic, and yeah, we've seen a lot of these things before, but it felt authentic. And Greta Gerwig, it's not autobiographical, but it's got notes of her own life in there that she was able to infuse in the movie, and I think it helps it from a cinematic standpoint feel like it's a real piece that we're looking at, not just a movie.
I remember when girls would like rich girls would give me a ride home from school because I would either take the city bus to school or like if I didn't get to drive my mom's Ford Fairmont 3-speed station wagon.
Did it have wood paneling?
No, but it did have a stick shift.
Yeah.
And
with that car, as long as your feet weren't propelling it like the Flintstones, you were doing okay.
1978 Ford Fairmont. Fine piece of 3-speed stick shift station wagoning from the good people at Ford Motor Company. But I remember these when they would drop me off. So the apartment we lived in it was like a condo. It was decent, but compared to their mansions, I felt bad about myself. And we lived next. Our thing was off an alley, and it was next to a gas station that ended up burning down. So there was this burnt down gas station, and I would say, "Oh, the parking's weird. Drop me like a block off." And they're like, "Where's your home?" Oh, it's weird. It's hard to get to, because I was like ashamed of where I lived. And I remember that because then, the parties were always at mansions, like John Hughes. I grew up in the John Hughes era, those type of parties. I saw those. I saw it happen.
People jumping off the second floor into the pool.
Oh my God. I dated a girl that went to a private Catholic school that was in an even wealthier suburb than where I lived. And I went to some formal with her, and then we went to a party afterwards, and there were 2 Ferraris in the garage of this house.
Wow.
2. Because you got to have one on the weekend and one during the week. What are
Sure,
you, an animal?
you've gotta-
Drive the same Ferrari all the time?
You've got a work Ferrari and a play Ferrari.
Of course.
Honey, why are you taking the blue one out on Tuesday? That's the Saturday Ferrari.
What are you, a savage with one Ferrari?
Did you ever have the moment where the rich girls take you back to their house for after school, and then the dad comes home and says, "I don't want you hanging out with that Elwood boy anymore"?
Yeah.
I did have a little version of that because I went to the public school that had black kids in it, and she was in this all white. She went to, I forget, it was some Catholic school, and her brother went to a Catholic boys' school, and her parents were big Catholic. I remember this. We were out. She had her driver's license before me, so we drive around and go in her dad's car and make out or whatever. And then she was out too late, and her mom was furious. They did not like me because I was from the wrong side of the tracks or whatever. And my high school was like 40% black. I was on the football team. That's how I grew up. And that was all white, wealthy, in where she lived. And her mom got furious and yelled at the dad to drive us home. So I had to get a ride home from this girl's dad
wow.
and her, and we're driving.
Did you get a talking to?
Oh, this is a fun one. So we drive down the street, and he goes, and he points at this Catholic church and goes, "Is that your parish?" Ooh. And I, for a split second, thought about saying yes, but then I won't. I went, no, I would dig myself a deeper grave. And I just went, No, sir, we don't really go to church.
Yeah, man.
No,
Way to be
perfect.
honest.
Because we were raised Catholic, but we stopped. My mom was like, the hell with this. So I was like, no, sir, we don't. And I remember telling my mom that. She goes, that was the smart play, because he would have gone, oh, do you know Father blah, blah, blah? And then I would have been like, but I don't see him all that often. Really? You don't see the head of the church that often? Like, so I remember that car ride home, and I was just like, and
Or you remember Father made up name?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Father McFakey.
Yeah.
this is actually good for all the new parents out there listening. Is that that's how you rope-a-dope a kid you don't want? Is you say, do you remember this one? And then you say yes. And then they're like, well, he is not a real person. So
Right.
you're a liar, and you're walking home the rest of the week.
I had all that shit, all that John Hughes stuff. And, and then the rich, like, Tad boyfriend that was, like, muscling in. I remember she called me and said, hey, did you send me flowers? And I went, no. And she was like, what? We got anonymous flowers. You sure it wasn't you? I said, no, I didn't. I don't have the money to send you flowers. And
I don't want to spoil you.
And turns out some rich asshole, some polo-wearing Biff motherfucker, sent her anonymous flowers, hoping I would take credit for it, and was going to try to out me.
Oh.
And when I was like, no, I'm all up front. And then he admitted that to her, and I go, wow, this guy's a piece of shit.
Wow, you were in the middle of like all these weird truth grifts.
It was fucking truth grips. Like, that's how these rich people try to do it. They think, like they want to paint me into some poor,
yeah.
outsiders.
Oh,
You
yeah.
were
Elwood's a
tossed
dumb
into
poor guy. He's going to lie at any given moment.
That's what the poor do. They're just lying grifters.
They're just liars waiting for our wealth to trickle down to them, and
what
we
it
won't
is.
have it.
Watch out, Amy. He's going to knife you. And
and take one of our Porsches.
yeah, exactly. Her name was Amy. Her Irish name was Aileen. It was like, and so the only thing I had going for me was that I'm Irish, like it was the only thing, but I was there's that type of Irish we don't want to associate with.
Yeah,
The feisty,
Like leprechauns.
the dirty ones, the ones that don't have real jobs, the ones that are still out there in the streets making pipe bombs and lying about flowers and parishes.
Yes.
But I was like, your rich, filthy scams both failed,
Yes.
motherfuckers. Now I'm going to take the city bus to fucking football practice.
Yeah. That'll learn you.
I
Yeah.
love what an
suck it.
elaborate like effort that is on the part of the rich kid. Like, why not just ask her out as opposed to trying to weasel his way into sending her flowers? That's like an elaborate plot that
What
this
a
kid
punk.
hatched.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fucking punk.
Modern day kids don't even make that effort. They just send dick pics.
Yeah. Is
And
this
they
your dick
arrive
pic?
instantly.
Did you send a dick pic? No. That's not.
Back in my day, you had to lick a stamp, put it on an envelope, take a Polaroid.
Yeah. And go and put it in a mailbox.
Put it in a mailbox. What's that? Oh, damn it. So anyway, I live next to a burnt down gas station. The rich kids tried to make me feel shitty, but they didn't win.
Yeah.
But
You are
that's
Ladybird.
That's why I'm Ladybird. That's why I identified with this.
I'll tell you, it was it had some really fun scenes in it. Like all the theater audition scenes really made me laugh when those kids are trying to sing the songs, and nearly all the songs sung in the audition scenes were written by Stephen Sondheim, who also composed the musical they ended up performing, "Merrily We Roll Along." So I think there was care given to actually pulling actual songs that they were butchering in every scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's really I liked it, and I'd like to see it get some awards. At least some nominations. Is it from what I've seen thus far?
We'll see what happens at the Golden Globes. So.
Well, she's already been shunned, so maybe Greta Gerwig will get some nominations.
Shot first. Kitten